Well, hello class. Today we're going to be doing chapter 38. I wish I was there in person, but as you know, I had a fall at the house and I fell and landed on my hip, and I've got a hip fracture that they were able to repair. And I hope to be back with y'all as soon as I can. But we're going to get through these last several chapters and be done with the book. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me at any given time. Well, today we'll be talking about transport operations. Today's ambulances are stocked with standard medical supplies. Many are equipped with state-of-the-art technical and transmittable data directly to the emergency department, such as your cardiac monitor. We are able to transmit the 12-lead EKG straight to the emergency department. Today's emphasis on rapid transport places the EMT at a greatest danger. So emergency vehicle design, an ambulance is a vehicle that is used to treat and transport patients who need emergency medical care to the hospital. The number you need to take from here is NFPA 1917. That's your standard for automotive ambulances and suggestions for the industry. The NFPA stands for the National Firefighters Professional Association. They're the ones that regulate ambulances and most of our equipment. Components of an ambulance, you got your driver's compartment, which is nothing more than like the standard cab of your vehicle. Patient compartment, big enough for at least 2 EMTs and 2 supine patients. Now, depending on where you go to work and the service you work for, they may be equipped to take care of up to 4 patients supine because of the amount of area that they have to cover. They need more capability of transporting patients supine than they are transporting just 2 patients. You're going to have the equipment and supplies, 2-way radio communications, and you must have not just radio, but you also must have cellular phone capability. Have to have 2 forms of communication. Now we do carry a third, and the third is going to be your computer or your CAD system, your computer system that we write the reports on. We've also got communication with dispatch. It's designed for maximum safety, efficiency, and comfort. As anyone's ever ridden back there, you know nothing in the back of that truck is designed for comfort. It's designed for longevity because if it was a smaller chassis vehicle, they're going to wear out a lot sooner because of the amount of weight they got to carry. So they got to take care and transport and put these boxes on chassis of at least 3/4 ton to 1 ton vehicles. So they don't have a lot of comfort. We have 3 different types, and you're going to be responsible for know the 3 different types. Type 1 is your conventional truck cab chassis with a modular ambulance body that can be transferred to a new chassis. So like when that truck or that ambulance frame wears out, they're able to unbolt the box, lift it up, and back a new chassis underneath it, lower it down, and reattach it. A type 2 is your standard van. We consider those a disposable. They're a throwaway. We can use them. There is no remount to them. When they wear out, they wear out. We donate them to other departments, other third world countries, or simply replace them. Those usually start at about $90,000 to $100,000, where a typical type 1 or type 3 can start at somewhere around $150,000 to $200,000. Type 3 is your specialty van. It is a van in the front with a box back. And the next slide will show you the pictures, or the slides coming up will show you the pictures. Ambulances, licensing and certification or credentialing, they must have Star Life affixed to either the sides, rear, and the roof of the ambulance. The one on the very top, the roof, has to be probably at least 4 feet wide by 4 feet tall. Has to be able to be seen from the air from a helicopter. Because from a helicopter, they don't know that what they're looking down is an ambulance because they don't see the flashing lights. all they see is just like a white top on a box. So there has to be some kind of designation saying that they are an ambulance. Here are your three types of designations. A is going to be your type 1, which is the truck front, box back. B is going to be your standard ambulance, which is basically known as a disposable ambulance. And then type C or type 3 is going to be your van front, box back. Now, at National Registry, I can't tell you that they're not going to ask you about this, but don't be surprised if they do. They'll give you a picture of an ambulance and you got to give it its designation, a type 1, type 2, or type 3. So phases of an ambulance call, we got to prepare for the call. This is where we get together every morning, we do our truck checks. You have to do it. That is a state law. That is a national law that you have to make sure you have all the proper equipment. Then you've got your dispatch. They're going to receive the 911 call and they're going to prepare to dispatch. Whenever you are dispatched, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to check en route. And when you arrive on scene, you'll check arrived on scene. We transfer the patient to the ambulance. Now, we don't have to get on the radio and tell them, hey, we're transferring the patient to the ambulance at this time. We just have to advise when we arrive on scene and then when we go en route to the receiving hospital. We need to let them know when we get to the receiving facility, when we clear the hospital and go back en route to the station, and then when we're post-run is when we check available. We've resupplied our ambulance. We're ready to go. We're clean. We've got everything we need. We've done our report. And now when we get back to the station, also in your post-run is where you can sit and debrief about it if need be. Make sure equipment and supplies are in their proper places and ready for use. Now, I know everybody's going to have a particular place they like to put their own equipment or put the ambulance equipment. Just be advised that if you move it and it's not in its proper designation, you may report it as being missing or lost when it was just in a different location. So on your shift, if you move it, at least have the courtesy at the end of your shift to replace it and put it back where it's designed to go. We store new equipment only after being properly instructed to use it. Now, if you've got 3 shifts, you're not going to have any new equipment until all 3 shifts have been properly trained and tested on that new equipment. The equipment should be durable and standardized. Standardized just means that if you've got 5 ambulances, all 5 ambulances have the exact same equipment in the exact same location. So whenever you see the word standardized, that just means you all carry the same thing. We store equipment and supplies according to how urgency and how often we're used. So if you remember riding with San Antonio, if you sat in that jump seat or that captain's chair, right there to your right was all airway stuff. Non-rebreather, nasal cannula, OPA, NPA, it's airway stuff. You go a little bit further down around the chest area, we may have some cardiac stuff, IV stuff, IV fluids. You may even have the cardiac meds. Go a little bit further down, we get around that waist area. Now we're going to start seeing bandaging and splinting supplies. As you get further down towards the legs, again, we're going to continue with bandaging and splinting, but now we're going to have the restock stuff. Now, when we got to change the bed sheets, we got to clean the stretcher, all the cleaning materials usually going to be down by the feet. So just about every ambulance is set up based off how the patient presents on the stretcher. Head, torso, waist, lower extremities. Cabinets and drawers are fronts should be transparent and labeled, so you should be able to see into it. It shouldn't be a solid colored piece of plexiglass. It should be able to be transparent where you can see into it. They should have labels so you're easily able to see what is on that, what is on each shelf and each bin. Your medical equipment, you got your basic supplies, and with that includes anything that has to do with airway, breathing, circulation, CPR equipment, suction equipment, The little device you see in the bottom left corner, that is known as a CPR board. We would carry those underneath the bench seat because during transport, if our patient coded at any time during transport, we can't do CPR on the stretcher because of the cushion flexation. So we had to have something rigid to put underneath them. Well, guess where the backboards are? They're stored on the outside of the compartment. So you're not going to pull over to get a backboard and put under a patient. So these were designed to keep underneath the bench seat where we can lift it up, roll the patient onto the side, put the board underneath them, and we now have a rigid board underneath them that we can do CPR on. We're going to have splinting material, childbirth supplies, AEDs. These are what they call standardized equipment across the board. As far as in the United States, everybody's got the same equipment. We're all required to carry certain splinting material, certain OB material. We all have to have the exact same thing. DOT regulates what we have to carry, which is Department of Transportation. You got to have patient transfer equipment. That's going to be your stretcher, your scoop stretcher. That's going to be your backboards, your KED. Those are all transport equipment. Got to carry medications, and of course, then you got to have your jump kit. Your jump kit is just a small version of what you have on the shelf, and a condensed version bag that is able to transfer with you to the scene. And then we got safety and operational equipment. You got to have reflective vests. Minimum for reflective vest you should have is 4 of them, because you, your partner, and of course then a student if need be. And then if there are occasions that even though you're the student, they'll put a 4th person on there as being an observer. It may be a bystander. It may be a fire officer that is riding out to do an evaluation of their crew. So you want to have at least 4 safety vests. Pre-planning and navigating equipment. It may be as simple as GPS navigations, road maps. You're going to have to know your area. Wherever you go to work, you're going to have to know the area that you respond to. Some services require extrication equipment, only because where you respond is nothing but volunteer firefighters. And so they're at their regular job. And for them to be able to leave when a call drops for an extrication, they have to leave their business, place of business. So an example, say they work in a Parks and Rec department, they have to leave there in their work truck, go to the fire station, get the first response vehicle or the rescue responding vehicle, and then from there, go to the scene. That may be 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes. So services that have those long response times, their local EMS are trained how to do their own extrications and carry that equipment. Personnel, at least 1 EMT in the patient compartment during transport. Sometimes we have more than that, but a minimum number is 1. 2 EMTs are strongly recommended, and some services have non-EMT drivers and a single EMT in the patient compartment. In the state of Texas, that does not exist. We can have a non-EMT driver, but we still have to have 2 certified people on board to transport a patient. Anybody can bring the ambulance, but it has to have 2 certified people to bring the patient to the hospital. We perform daily inspection. We check the tires, we check the hoses, we check the plugs, make sure just all the plugs are attached. Checked all the emergency lights, the siren, we check the blinkers, we take tire pressure, all of that. If we find any deficiencies, we have to report them and or fix them ourselves. We inspect for cleanliness, quantity, functional of the equipment and supplies. We typically do not allow a crew to leave until you've accepted the call or accepted the ambulance as it sits. So we usually make sure we have oxygen, we got clean monitor batteries, and we have a clean truck. Everything else we can get away with fixing and getting it restocked ourselves. But those are the main things that take a little bit of time to make sure they're up to par. Review safety precautions, review traffic safety rules and regulations, ensure safety devices are in a working order, properly secure oxygen tanks. We have nothing loose. Even on the stretcher, you got bags and cardiac monitor. They should be seat belted in and not being able to where they can be thrown off the stretcher or become a projectile in the back of the truck. Your dispatch phase must be easily accessible 24 hours a day. Now, typically, that's your 911 system. There are those few services in and about the state as well as the nation that they don't have an enhanced 911 system. They actually have a phone system where it is a regular 7-digit phone number that somebody would call and it would ring at the fire station or would ring at the dispatch office. It's not a 3-letter number or a 3 number like 911. May be operated by local EMS or shared devices. So your dispatcher may not only dispatch the EMS, but they may dispatch PD, Sheriff's Department, as well as Fire Department. Some share it where they even dispatch for the city utilities, the electric company. They also dispatch for Parks and Rec. So these dispatchers can be spread very, very thin. So as much as you want to sometimes feel like you want to choke your dispatcher, until you can walk a mile in their shoes, they're doing the best they can. So they may serve only a one jurisdiction or they may have a regional center. Regional center, which would be like a big, say, Walmart, would be a regional center, supersized Walmart. And inside there, it's divided into 4 categories. 4 categories are police department, sheriff's department, fire department, and EMS. And depends, and then up front they have the 911 call takers. And whenever you call 911, they ask, what is your emergency? If you say you need PD, they're going to route you to PD. If you say you're in the county and you need a sheriff's department, they're going to route you to a sheriff. Say you need fire, they're going to route you there, and EMS, so forth. So those are regionals, so everybody's under one house, but they all have their own designated dispatchers. Dispatchers should gather and record the nature of the call, name and present location, and callback number of what's going on, number of patients and severity of their conditions, and other pertinent information needed that he or she may think of that they can relay to you that's going to help make your job easier. Now, granted, dispatchers are only reporting to you what they've been told. So when you get upset, it's like they're sending me into a hostile situation or they're sending me somewhere that's unsafe, they haven't been told any different. So they're only being told, and that's what they're relaying to you. And route to scene is the most dangerous part of responding, simply because when you turn on those lights and sirens, you are now a main attraction. So you are going to draw cars to you. They love to play bumper vehicles with ambulances, fire trucks, police cars, sheriff's car, anything that has bright, flashy lights. They get drawn inward. Now, not to mention that from point A to point B, there may be a total of, let's just say, 2,000 cars that you come across between point A and point B. But of those 2,000 cars, there may be a total of 4,000 people that you're going to come across. And they're all going to be gawking. They're all going to be looking about what you're going to. So crashes cause many serious injuries. So you got to make sure your seatbelts are fastened. Shoulder harnesses are in place. Review dispatch information, which is what you get on your CAD system or what they tell you over the radio. Prepare to assess and care for your patient. So start pre-planning. Don't wait to get there and find out, well, they told me it was shortness of breath, and let me just see if it really is. Go ahead and plan you 5 or 10 possibilities that it could be. And then as you get there, you can start ruling these things out. Oh, it's not shortness of breath. It's nausea and vomiting. Or it's not this. It's this. You can start ruling things out and save yourself a whole lot of time. So perform your scene size up. Report your findings back to dispatch. Whether you're going to need additional personnel, additional resources, helicopters, additional law enforcement, you get them all on the way. You can always turn people around. But I hate for you to get there and you get behind the 8 ball and realize that I need more than what I have at my disposal. So call for them early. Look for scene hazards. Evaluate the need for additional units. Determine MOI, NOI. Evaluate the need for spinal mobilization and follow your standard precautions. Minimum is going to be your BSI. Mass casualty incidents, estimate and communicate the number of patients through the incident commander. So that person, when you arrive, you may see 20 people. You should get on the radio and ask, or not the radio, but the PA system, and ask anyone that was not involved with the accident, please report through the back of the ambulance. That way you have an idea of how many are walking wounded and how many of them do not belong to the scene. They've just may have been bystanders driving by. Request additional units. Always keep in mind 2 patients per unit. So if you've got 10 patients, you should have at least 5 ambulances coming. And then we're going to establish an instant command system. Park safe, allow for efficient traffic flow, okay, in and around the scene. So park at least 100 feet before or past the crash. So if there's no law enforcement, no fire department there, you want to park before it, the accident, simply because you want to make sure that you're safe. If they're there, you're going to go up and pass the scene. We don't park along the side unless we need to be protected from the side. We want to park uphill, upwind from hazardous materials, allow those to blow down away from us, and leave warning devices on. Don't turn your emergency lights off, leave them on. Keep a safe distance between the emergency vehicle and operations. Stay away from fires, explosive hazards, down power wires, unstable structures. I know a lot of you think that you're indestructible and you want to go in there and do that in due time. Once you get certified and you become a firefighter, you can do that kind of stuff. Let's see. We want to make sure you set the parking brake, because the parking brake is what idles up the ambulance engine to keep the batteries charged and all your warning devices running and the AC in the back running. Everything runs off your little alternator under the engine. Now, the bad thing about that is if we don't idle up that engine, it is going to cause havoc on your batteries and cause them to die quicker. Facilitate emergency medical care and rapid transport from the scene. So you may be the one that is tasked with the overall who goes first, who goes last. So you may have your hands full. It takes practice. You'll get better at it. The more times you're able to do it, don't shy away from it if you've been ever asked to do it. Always stick to your guns and at least attempt it. If necessary, block traffic, work quickly and safely. You don't want to block traffic for any length of time, because the longer you block traffic, the more likely that the intoxicated people or the people that are drawn towards the real flashy lights, the nice Christmas lights, are going to be drawn towards you. And you don't want to be a statistic or be a patient yourself. Traffic control is usually done by fire department and police department. Provide care, ensure scene safety first. Make sure your traffic vest is on, whether it's night or day. If you got bunker gear, they already have reflective. Same way if you've already got some of your own personal shirts and or pants will have reflective built in them. Those are sufficient. But if not, you want to have a minimum of your reflective vest on. Place warning devices on the sides of each crash. traffic cones. We don't try not to use flares if we're bringing in a helicopter, which we'll talk about later on in this chapter. Patients must be packaged for transport. Ensure the patient is on a backboard, scoop stretcher, wheeled ambulance stretcher. Minimum, they have to be seat belted. It's state law. Whether you're on a backboard, you're on a scoop stretcher, or even on your stretcher, the patient needs to be seat belted in. Lift the patient into the compartment. If you do have two patients, always do this, put the least injured patient on the bench seat. But make it easy on yourself. Put them on the stretcher first, load the stretcher in the ambulance. Once it's in there and locked in, move them from the stretcher to the bench, and then bring the stretcher back out and get your other patient put in. Don't try to walk up those steps carrying a patient on a scoop stretcher or a backboard. It's going to want to tilt on you. So use the stretcher to your advantage. Put the patient on the stretcher, put them in the unit, move it from the stretcher to the bench, take the stretcher out, and then put your second patient on the stretcher and put the stretcher in. So transport phase, when you're ready to leave with the patient, notify dispatch how many patients you have, where you're going, and what your starting mileage is. Okay, that's how they bill. They have a base rate and they have a base price for all their supplies they use, but they also bill per mile. So, but it's not mileage coming to you. It's only miles when you're in the back of the ambulance. Monitor the patient's condition en route. Again, I've told you this at least 100 times. If they're stable, it's every 15 minutes. Unstable is every 5. Contact the receiving facility. If you can, get who you talk to, what nurse, their last name, because that may not be who you're giving report to when you arrive. So always get who you gave it to over the phone or the radio. Do not abandon your patient emotionally. Be aware of the patient's level of need. And then delivery phase. Let dispatch know that you're there. Report your arrival to the triage nurse or to the nurse at the front desk that's accepting you when you come in. Physically transfer the patient. Present a complete verbal report. Complete a detailed patient care report and restock any items if possible. There are sometimes we can restock at the hospital, mainly soft goods and sheets and stuff, but like your IVs, your oxygen delivery devices, stuff like that, we're not going to restock at the hospital. We'll restock that from our station or from our supervisor. Inform dispatch whether you're going to be in service, how long it's going to be. They may come on and ask you your ETI. If they ask about ETI, it's estimated time in service. If they ever come on there and ask you that, that usually means they have a 911 call waiting for you and we need to get going. Let them know when you're back at the station. You've cleaned and disinfected the ambulance and equipment and restocked any supplies. Don't drag your feet. Remember, these are people that need an ambulance. The longer you drag your feet about getting back in service, the more these people are going without an ambulance in your district. Complete and file additional written reports. If we got to do any addendums, there'll be a blank piece of form or a blank piece of paper that you can do addendums to. Inform dispatch again of your status, location, availability. Perform en route inspections and refuel the vehicle. Ambulances, we don't like to get below a half a tank. Fire trucks, we don't like to get below 3/4 of a tank because at a big major fire, that engine is running the pump that's running, takes fuel. So if we only refuel it every half a tank, we may run it dry before we have a chance to refill it. So that's why we don't do beyond that. Key terms: cleaning, disinfecting, high-level disinfectant, and sterilization. So cleaning is nothing more than you're going to disinfect. So after each call, strip the linens from the stretcher, place them in a plastic bag or designated receptacle, usually at the hospital. Disregard medical waste. If it is medical waste, it goes into the red bio bag, not the trash. And the trash doesn't go in the red bio bag. Only blood and or vomit, biomedical waste goes there. Wash contaminated areas with soap and water. If you're using a bleach solution, remember it's a 1 to 4 bleach solution, those have to be changed out every 24 hours. They're not changed out every week, they're changed out every 24 hours. And whether it's Lysol and or bleach, it is sprayed and let air dry. Don't sit there and wipe it down. That doesn't kill anything. Disinfect all non-disposable equipment used for patient care. Here they have it as a 1 to 100 bleach solution. We have it as a 1 to 4. So basically this is where you would have 100 milliliters of water with 1 cap full of bleach. Clean spillage or other contamination with one of those solutions. Again, you don't wipe any of this down. When you spray it, it is air dried to kill the germs. Defensive driving. An ambulance involved in a crash delays patient care and makes lives of the EMT and motorists and pedestrian. Takes many of those lives. It doesn't matter whether you ran a red light or whether you were at a complete stop. If your warning devices were on, you are at fault. If you're ever involved in a wreck, whether it's your fault or not, just keep in mind they're going to take you to the hospital automatically. They're going to do urine test. They may take a blood test. And then don't be surprised if they ask for your cell phone and ask for you to unlock it because they're checking to make sure you did not receive text messages and or answer text messages and or phone calls during the time of the accident. Some states require emergency vehicles to operate operations costs, also known as an EVOC. Other characteristics, physical fit and alert, emotional maturity and stability, and due regard to the safety of others and preservation of property. So don't go driving through someone's front yard. They may not like that. Not to mention, you don't know where their sewer lines are, and you may bury your ambulance all the way up to the frame, which would be a bad day for everybody involved. Speed does not save lives. Good patient care is what saves lives. So just because you can drive 90 miles an hour doesn't mean you need to drive 90 miles an hour. Wear your seatbelt, your shoulder restraints. Become familiar with how the vehicle accelerates, corners, sways, and stops. Stay away from extreme left-hand lane. Stay in the extreme left-hand lane and multi-lane highways. Siren risk benefit. You follow your local protocol. What is the patient's decision? I know all y'all are new. You're going to love to hear the siren and see the flashy lights, the woo-woos, all that. I know that for a fact. I was there. I was one of you guys once before too. But good patient care is what saves patients' lives. Speed does not. That siren and that light system, all it does is draw attraction. Anticipate clinical outcomes of patients. As far as do I need to get them in there in the next 10, 15 minutes, or do I have a little bit of time? Keep that in mind. What is your patient's clinical outcome possibly going to be? Anticipate other drivers. Always assume that motorists around your vehicle have not heard your siren or your PA system. Always, always, always drive defensively. Be on the lookout. Cushion. Don't get right up on their backside and expect them to immediately pull to the right. Usually anyone that hears a siren right off the bat, first thing to do is let off the accelerator and tap the brakes. So if you're right up there on their bumper or their tailpipe, as soon as they do that, you're going to run right into the back of them. So give them a cushion. You want to stay at least a car length to 2 car lengths back. There's a reason why when you look at an ambulance, if they have the word ambulance on the hood of their vehicle written backwards, so when you look at it, you're like, man, that don't make no sense. Why is it backwards? So when you look in the rearview mirror, it's written normal. So when they see in the rearview mirror, it spells ambulance in a normal way. Try to avoid being tailgated from behind. So let the family know, please don't get right behind me. Don't be afraid to notify law enforcement if the family is tailgating you, because you don't want to have to stop suddenly and then your ambulance get rear-ended by a family member. Ensure the blind spots do not prevent you from seeing other vehicles, so you need to adjust the mirrors. One thing you're not going to have access to is your rear view mirror. All you're going to be able to see is into the patient compartment. So you've got to be good at driving with your mirrors that are on your doors. Never get out of the ambulance to confront any driver, no matter what you think you're entitled to. Be aware of blind spots. Scan mirrors frequently. Excessive speed. Excessive speed, unnecessary, dangerous, and does not increase the patient's chance of survival. So it makes it difficult to provide care for the patient and the patient compartment, because you've all ridden with San Antonio, you know that you can't reach a patient sitting on the bench seat to adequately take care of them if you're seat belted in. So you're up and about. So believe it or not, you're a projectile if he has to hit the brake. So hinder the driver's reaction time. Keep in mind, when you're driving, your partner is not seat belted in back there. You do not want to be the cause of their injury. Increase the time and distance needed to stop the ambulance. These things weigh about 3,000 to 5,000 pounds more than what you're used to driving. Some of you drive real small vehicles. Those things are light. The wind can blow them off the road. These ambulances, very top heavy. They're a big giant sail. Because the wind hits it, it can make them rock. They're very top heavy, they're prone to tip over. And their speed makes it, they need twice the braking distance. Siren syndrome. Some people like to try to do a new rap video by making all kinds of different noises with the siren. It causes drivers to drive faster in the presence of a siren due to increased anxiety. They don't know if they're being chased or what. And again, some of you guys that are new, you're going to have the woo-woo factor, and you're going to want to drive faster than what you're actually legal to, because you're only supposed to be able to drive 10 miles over the posted speed limit. Vehicle size, distance, and judgment. Crashes often occur when the vehicle is backing up, so use a spotter. The spotter is usually your partner in the back in the patient compartment, so ask them to let you know before you hit something. Have them give you an idea of how far back you can come. Size and weight influences braking and stopping distance. Road positioning and cornering. To keep the ambulance in the proper lane when turning and entering. Never accelerate into a corner. You always want to let off the gas coming into a corner. As you hit what they call the apex, which is the bend of the curve, that's when you get back on the accelerate and accelerate out of the apex or the curve back into a straight line, as you can see in this diagram. So if you apex early, you're going to end up on the gravel side of the road. If you apex late, you may be coming into oncoming traffic. So let off the gas, coast into the corner, and about halfway through the corner, that's when you get back on the accelerator and accelerate out. Weather and road conditions, ambulances have a longer braking time and stopping distance. Like I've told you several times this year on our message that I send out every morning, when we have rain or we're having bad weather or anything like that, I'm not worried about you guys driving as I am everybody else around you. So take in consideration hydroplaning. These ambulances, even though they're heavy, will still hydroplane. So the weight of the ambulance is unevenly distributed, which makes it more prone to a rollover. So be alert for hydroplaning, water on the road, decreased visibility, and ice on slippery surfaces. Laws and regulations. So if you're on an emergency call, using your warning devices, sirens, you may be allowed to do the following. Park or stand in an illegal location, which means you're able to park in a fire zone so long as you're on a call, not because you're going to HEB to get groceries. But like I was saying, you can't just park in the fire lane and go shopping at HEB to get your groceries. You can proceed through a red light or a stop sign, but only after you've made eye contact. Don't just blow through it. Drive faster than the posted speed limit. 90% of the places that I know of has a minimum 10-mile-an-hour over the posted speed limit. Drive against the flow of traffic. Travel left of center to make an illegal pass. So what they mean by that is you have to get around someone. If it's a double yellow line, which technically you're not supposed to pass in a double yellow line, you're allowed to because you're in an emergency vehicle. An emergency vehicle is never allowed to pass a school bus that is stopped to load or unload children, even if you're responding on an emergency call, even if it is a cardiac arrest emergency call. You cannot pass a school bus loading or unloading. Use of warning lights and sirens. The unit must be a true emergency call. Both your siren and your lights must be gone. Now, there's only a handful of situations I could think of, and they're all geared towards law enforcement, that they can get away with running just lights with no siren because they're going to catch a bad guy, and we don't want the bad guys to get away by them saying, hey, we're coming after you, by letting them know here's the sirens. So the unit must be operating in due regard to safety of others. Don't drive it like you stole it. Take your time, drive it defensively, watch out for everybody else, because especially when you are the sole driver up front because your partner's in the back, not only now do you got to watch everybody around you, you've got to get to the proper hospital safely, and you're going to have to operate the radios and operate this heavy vehicle, as well as make sure that you know that your partner is in the back unseatbelted. Right-of-way privileges. Emergency vehicles have the right to disregard the rules of the road when responding on an emergency call. Do not endanger people or property under any circumstances. Get to know the local right-of-way privileges that your department set forth, y'all. Use of escorts. When they talk about escorts, it usually means that you're responding to an area that you're not familiar with, such as a small town or a small community, and you're trying to find stuff on the GPS or on the maps. Well, they may send a volunteer firefighter or police officer that's familiar with their area to escort you in. So use escorts to guide only when you're unfamiliar with the territory. Intersection hazards. Intersection crashes are most common and most serious. So if you cannot wait for traffic lights to change, come to a brief stop, make eye contact with everybody at that intersection that is due to go forward, and make sure that they know that you're asking for permission to proceed through the light. Highways shut down emergency lights and sirens until you reach the far left lane. Some of these highways are 6 lanes wide, and you're going to get hung in traffic and trying to get scooted over the whole time your siren is blaring. Same way I've ever seen them go to a railroad crossing and the train is going. It's not going to make the train go any faster with you sitting there with your lights and siren blaring. Might as well turn that siren off and just sit, put it in park, and wait for the train to go by. Because the conductor didn't see you. He can't stop that train on a dime. School zones, it's unlawful to exceed the speed limit in the school zone, even responding on an emergency call. Do the posted speed limit. If it's 20, you're running license sirens at 20 miles an hour through the school zone. You do not pass any school bus that has their red lights flashing, regardless of what you're responding to. And if you're in a school zone, again, if it's 20 or 25 miles an hour, there's no school bus present, but the yellow light is flashing saying school zone, you're going to do the posted speed limit running lights and sirens. Distraction focuses on driving and anticipated roadway hazards. Minimize distractions. We have mobile data, dispatch terminals, and GPS. That's your computer and, of course, your global positioning satellites. Mounted mobile radios. Stereos, a big distraction because a lot of people like to turn up those stereos because like, I had sirens going, let's get some tunes going. Cell phones, another distractor. That's why I said if you're ever involved in a wreck, do not be surprised if they ask to see your phone and ask you to unlock it. And the moment you say that's my personal property, I'm not going to unlock it for you, don't worry, the police will get a warrant for it to be unlocked. Eating and drinking, you're not really supposed to be eating anything. You can have food up front because you're taking it from point A to point B, but you're not supposed to be consuming like a Subway sandwich or hamburgers while responding on a call. Driving alone, it's your responsibility to focus on figuring the safest route to the hospital while mentally preparing for a call. You have to know your locations. You have to know how to get to the hospitals. I don't want to be the medic in the back and you trying to ask me, do I need to turn right or do I need to turn left here? That's your responsibility. You should know right from left and how to get there. Fatigue, recognize that you're getting tired. Notify your partner and your supervisor. Some services will take you down for what they call a safety nap. It may be 20 minutes, it may be 30 minutes, it may be an hour. They're not going to put you down for 8 hours. If they're going to put you down for 8 hours, they might as well send you home. Or they'll say, yeah, we'll go ahead and cover you for 8 hours. They'll bring someone in to run your shift. They're just taking you off the clock. Air ambulances are used to evacuate medical and trauma patients. We have both what they call fixed wing and rotor wing. Fixed wing flies a lot further. They go down South America, they go down to Chile, Brazil, they go all over the world to pick up patients that were on cruises or vacations that need to come back to the United States because of an injury or an illness. They're usually staffed with at least one paramedic and a flight nurse. You don't have to worry about doing any flying. You're not the pilot or anything like that. Fixed wing or rotor wing, excuse me, rotor wing is usually the most biggest medical ambulance aircraft we have. They're generally used to transfer patients from one hospital to another that are greater than 250 as your airplane. Under the 250-mile range, they use helicopter. There's occasions that they have helicopters that go a little bit further. They just have to, when they're coming to you, they will drop the crew off and then go and refuel while the crew's getting the patient prepared, and then they'll come back and pick up their crew and go to the hospital because they burn up all their fuel coming out. They're specially trained crews, company air ambulance flights. EMTs usually provide the ground transport and the ground transfer. Medical evaluations such as medevacs is performed by helicopters. They can do lift, hoist, search and rescue. They can also do fire brigade, where they can do drop water from Bambi buckets underneath their aircraft. The one that I know for sure that can do all of those is the only one in the state of Texas called Starflight. Stands for Shock Trauma Air Rescue. They're based out of Austin. They operate 4 aircraft on a daily basis, but they're Austin Travis County aircraft. So they're the only ones I know that are certified to do hoisting, where they can lift you from the, like the Coast Guard, from the ground up. They can deploy scuba divers. They can do uh, mountain rescue, where they can do bring you down from mountains. What else can they do? They can do search and rescue flare operations. They can do high angle rescues, pick you off the side of a crane or a high-rise building. So they're probably the most universal aircraft that we know in Texas. Why call for a medevac? Transport time by ground is too long. Road traffic, environmental conditions prohibit the use of ground transport. Patient requires advanced care that's not available. Multi-patients overwhelm the resources at the hospital reachable by ground. Patients with time-dependent injuries, strokes, cardiac may benefit helicopters. Patients with strokes, heart attacks, spinal cord, scuba diving accidents, near drownings, skiing, wilderness accidents, trauma patients. Any candidate that is up for a limb presentation, reattachment, burn centers, hyperbaric chambers, venomous bites, anything that is a time sensitive. Who do you call? Generally, your dispatcher knows the numbers to call. Most helicopter services that are local have radios and scanners, so they are able to listen to everything that is being said over the radio. And so they go ahead and get pre-flighted. They'll go to their aircraft, be ready to go. So as soon as their dispatcher calls them, they can be airborne in a matter of a few minutes. Typical startup to airtime is about a 5 to 6 minute, maybe as long as 7 to 8 minute startup. So if we can give them a heads up, and usually what we just say is like, Medic 3 dispatch, can we get air evac to our location? As soon as they hear that, because you got to take in consideration, they're dialing an 800 number to the helicopter's dispatcher that may not even be in the same town that they're in. It may be in Colorado. It may be in Abilene. You got to automatically build in 5 minute window for dispatch for a helicopter. Well, if they can hear it over the radio, they'll go ahead and pre-flight. They'll make sure that everything's unplugged. They'll go ahead and get strapped in, ready to go. So as soon as they get notified, they push the button and start the engine. Establish a landing zone. During the day, your landing zone should be 60 feet by 60 feet. At night, should be 100 feet by 100 feet. That's what's recommended. You can get away with 60 by 60, but at night, they all should be at least 100 by 100. Want to clear any loose debris or gravel that you can pick up, dead limbs on the ground, pieces of wood that can fly up. Because when that helicopter comes in, he's pushing about 130 to 140 mile an hour winds from those blades. So it's like being in a miniature tornado or hurricane. He's going to push a lot of debris. Mark the landing zone using cones or vehicles, their headlights pointed down towards the ground. Never use flares, because that's just nothing more than a fire hazard. It's going to brush it off into the grass. This is Maryland's helicopter. What's unique about them is this helicopter service, which is the state police, like our DPS, they service everything. So all of their police officers that fly on this aircraft are also paramedics. So they do all of the 911 for the entire state of Maryland. So they have probably 15 aircraft stationed all over the place. This is a catch-all, does it all. They can do engine lifts or patient lifts, engine hoist, lift you from high angle altitudes. They can carry multiple patients. I think this one's equipped to carry at least 3, plus at least 3 medical personnel, and then the 2 pilots. Landing zone and patient transfer, keep a safe distance away from the aircraft. Never approach it while it's running hot. When you will always approach from the front. Stay away from the tail rotor. Do not go near the rear boom. Um, and when you go to the front, do not just walk up. You make eye contact with the pilot, and then he or she will guide you in, motion you in, because what they're doing is that pilot has control of the blades. So when they're running hot, those blades can dip as low as 4 feet to the ground. So he can adjust or she can adjust the blades up to allow you to walk underneath them. If you don't get their attention, just walk. You may walk right into a mouthful of blade and you cease to exist anymore. But you'll never approach it by yourself. You always have at least one flight crew member with you. You have 2 different aircraft types. You have what they call a clamshell, and then you have a side load. This particular diagram is a side load. Clamshell was like the first one that we saw, where they had the airplane and the helicopter. That was a rear load. That's a clamshell. Even though that tail rotor is enclosed, you will still never go past that last person there. There will be a crew member standing about halfway down the boom of a rear load, and you will not go past him or her. But you make eye contact with the pilot, tell them how many people are coming, including the patient. So if you hold up 4, that's you, your partner, the flight crew, and then the patient. You hold up the number 4. When you get them loaded, strap your stretcher back down, strap your seatbelts back on your sheet as well as the mattress. Don't just leave, go beside the aircraft, get the pilot's attention, hold up the number 2, or however many of you are leaving the aircraft. He or she will adjust the blades and they'll give you the thumbs up to go ahead and proceed straight out. Don't walk straight up going in or going out. Even though they've adjusted the blades up or down, still crouch down and walk out. Keep the following guidelines in mind. Be familiar with hand signals. Do not approach the helicopter unless instructed or accompanied by flight crew. No open flames or anything that can cause havoc like this. Flares are prohibited within 50 feet of an aircraft. Wear eye protection. I wear hearing protection. I make sure I got hearing foam little like they do when you go shoot guns. Little foam inserts inside your ear canal. Night landings, don't shine any spotlights or flashlights towards the aircraft because when that light hits that windshield, it spiders. It sends the light out all over and it blinds your pilot. Direct any light to the ground, not towards the aircraft. We can point lights towards any overhead obstacles like power lines and all that. We can light those up, but don't point them directly at the aircraft. Medevacs and hazardous incidents, notify your flight crew. Consult about the best approach and distance from the scene. They'll know how far they need to be away from hazardous materials. Make sure your patient is deconned and make sure that the landing zone, if it is near a hazardous materials, is upwind and uphill. Assess the severity of the weather. Again, most helicopters are limited to flying below 10,000 feet above sea level. Medevac choppers fly somewhere between 130 and 150 miles an hour is what they typically fly at. And because the cabin's confined space, assess the number and size of the patient. So every day you go to work on an aircraft, they're going to ask you to get your helmet, your flight gear on, and all the equipment you carry, and they step you on a scale. And they're going to weigh you, and they're going to weigh your partner, and they're going to weigh the pilot. And basically between those 3 weights, the pilot will add up and decide how much of a patient they can carry, how much weight of a patient they can carry for the day. Typical medevac flights are expensive. Just because you haven't seen a helicopter in a long time, don't just call them because, oh, well, you know, we ain't flown anybody in a while. Let's bring somebody in. Don't do that, because a standard helicopter bill startup fees somewhere around 20 to 25,000. Then so much once they load them up, and then so much for every piece of equipment they use. So it's not uncommon for a helicopter bill to be somewhere in the neighborhoods of $50 to $100,000. So call them because you need them. Don't call them because it's a habit or that you haven't seen them in a while. And we're done. I'll get your next chapters ready to go.